You think this pain means Allah has forgotten you. But what if it's the opposite? What if every tear, every silence, every loss is actually proof He's already started healing you? Don't scroll, because if you miss what I'm about to say, you might miss the very sign you've been begging Him to send. 1. The pain is not here to punish you. It's here to save you. You've been wondering why your heart feels so heavy, why it seems like something is pressing down on your chest, making it hard to breathe freely. You've noticed how even the simplest things, a song, a smell, a place you once visited, can suddenly make your eyes fill with tears. It's like the world you knew has collapsed, and you're standing in the ruins, not knowing how to rebuild. At night, it gets worse. The silence makes the memories louder. The moments you shared with the one you lost play in your mind over and over, as if your heart is trying to torture you with its own longing. You lie there, staring at the ceiling, and the thought creeps in, did Allah leave me? Did I do something to deserve this? But listen carefully. This pain you feel, it is not Allah turning His back on you. It is not His anger. It is not a punishment meant to destroy you. It's the opposite. It's His way of saving you. Sometimes we hold on to things, people, and dreams that feel right to us. But Allah, in His infinite wisdom, knows they will poison us in ways we can't yet see. He knows the heartbreak that would come years later if He let them stay. He knows the cracks that would form in your soul if you kept walking in a direction not written for you. So, He steps in, and when He steps in, it doesn't always feel gentle. It can feel sudden, even violent, like your whole life has been ripped apart without warning. But think about it. When a doctor removes something harmful from the body, they can't always do it softly. They have to cut. They have to go deep. They have to touch the places that hurt the most. And yes, it can feel unbearable while it's happening, but if they didn't do it, that hidden damage would spread, and it would kill you slowly. That's what Allah is doing for your heart right now. He's performing a kind of surgery you can't see, removing what would have quietly destroyed you if it stayed. You feel the cut, but you don't yet see the disease He's protecting you from. And I know, it feels unfair. You want to ask Him why He couldn't just fix it without breaking you. But sometimes, my dear, the only way to save something is to break what is killing it. That's why, right now, you only feel the wound. You only see what's been taken away. You can't see what's already being prepared in its place. One day, you'll look back and realize that the thing you begged Allah to let you keep was the very thing He had to take so He could give you something better. One day, you will see that this was not the moment you were abandoned, it was the moment you were rescued. And when that day comes, you will thank Him for every tear you cried tonight, because you will see that every tear was part of the healing. 2. The sudden stillness is your first proof of healing. You've noticed it, even if you didn't think much of it at the time. It happened so quickly, so quietly, you almost convinced yourself it wasn't real. One moment, you were drowning in thoughts, every memory replaying like a cruel film you can't switch off. Your heart was pounding, your mind was loud, and the ache in your chest felt endless. And then, without warning, something shifted. The noise faded, the heaviness loosened. You took one deep breath that felt different from the rest. Almost like, for a few seconds, the storm stepped aside and let you pass. It didn't last long, just enough for you to notice. And because it was so short, you told yourself it meant nothing. I'm just tired. Maybe I got distracted for a moment. But deep inside, something about that moment felt strange and sacred. My dear, that was not an accident. That was not your mind playing tricks on you. That was Allah's touch. Sometimes, before He heals you completely, Allah gives you a small taste of what it will feel like when the healing is done. just enough for your soul to remember what peace is, so you don't forget it exists. It's like standing in the middle of a long, violent rainstorm. You've been shivering for hours, the wind is cutting into your skin, and the water feels endless. Then, suddenly, the rain stops. The air is still. The clouds part just enough for a single ray of light to touch your face. You close your eyes, and for that brief moment, you remember the warmth of the sun. Even if the clouds close again, that memory stays with you. You know the sun is still there, waiting, and knowing that makes you stronger when the storm returns. That's what these moments are, the ones where your heart feels lighter for no reason. They're not breaks in your sadness. They're previews of the peace Allah has written for you. He gives you seconds of it now, so you'll recognize it when He gives you forever later. But I know what you might be thinking. If He can give me those few seconds of peace, why not just give me all of it now? Because right now, you're still in the surgery. You're still healing from wounds you can't see. If He gave you full peace now, while the wound is still open, you wouldn't know how to hold it. It might slip through your fingers. So instead, He gives you small doses, moments to keep you alive. Moments to remind you that you're not broken beyond repair. Moments to whisper to your soul, you are not stuck here forever. Look, this is what's coming. Sometimes, those moments of stillness almost hurt more, don't they? Because you taste peace for a breath, and then it's gone again. It feels cruel. It feels like hope being taken away. But it's not cruelty, it's preparation. Allah knows you need to see it, feel it, taste it, so you'll know it's real. Because if the storm never paused, even for a second, you might start to believe it would never end. You might stop praying for better. You might stop believing better even exists. These seconds of quiet are your proof. They're not random. They're not meaningless. They're the first stitches on a wound that has been bleeding for too long. When someone is hurt, the body doesn't heal all at once. It starts small, a fragile layer over the injury, enough to hold it together while the deeper work happens underneath. Those peaceful moments you've felt, they're that first layer. They are Allah's way of saying, I've already started on you. I'm already working inside you. You don't see it yet, but you're mending. And here's the truth. One day those moments won't come and go. They won't just visit you for a few breaths. They will stay. Minutes will turn to hours. Hours will turn to days, until you wake up and realize the storm that once lived inside you is gone. The sky is clear. The air is calm. And the stillness you used to beg for has become your everyday reality. So don't ignore those small moments when they come. Don't brush them off. Don't tell yourself they mean nothing. They are not nothing. They are whispers from Allah, promises in the language of peace. Promises that the heart you think is beyond repair is already being stitched back together by the one who created it. 3. What was removed was blocking the light meant for you. You thought losing them was the worst thing that could happen to you. It felt like someone had ripped the air out of your lungs and left you to find your breath on your own. You kept replaying the last conversation, the last message, the last moment you saw their face. You tried to make sense of it, what you said wrong, what you could have done differently, how you could have kept them from walking away. You begged Allah to bring them back. You asked Him to fix it, to glue back the pieces exactly the way they were before. And when He didn't, it felt like silence. It felt like He didn't care. But my dear, sometimes the thing you're asking Him to keep in your life is the very thing standing between you and what He's trying to give you. It's like standing in a dark room with a small candle in your hand. You're holding it so tightly, guarding its little flame, afraid of losing even that small bit of light. What you don't see is that right in front of you is a window wide open, but the candle's smoke and flicker are blocking you from seeing the sunrise pouring in. Allah has to take the candle from you, so your eyes can finally adjust to the light He's been sending all along. The people, the opportunities, the plans that left you, they weren't taken to leave you in darkness. They were moved because they were casting shadows on blessings you couldn't see. I know you can't believe that right now. I know the empty space they left feels too cold, too big. It's human to miss them. It's human to wish for the comfort they once gave you. But comfort isn't the same as good, and what feels safe isn't always what saves you. Sometimes, the thing you're holding onto is blocking the very light that would heal you. It could be a person, it could be a dream you had for yourself. It could be a plan you thought would make your life whole, but Allah sees the things you can't, the cracks you didn't notice, the poison hidden under the sweetness, the way it would have pulled you further and further from Him without you even realizing it. So He moves it. He closes that chapter. He leaves that space empty, not to hurt you, but to make space for what fits your soul better. It's like planting a garden. Sometimes the soil is full of weeds that look harmless. They even have little flowers. But if you leave them there, their roots will choke anything good you try to grow. So you pull them out, every last one, even though it leaves the ground looking bare. And if someone walked past that garden right after, they might say, "What happened here? It looks ruined." But you know you're just getting started. You know that bare space is the beginning of something beautiful. That's what Allah is doing with you. When He removed that person, that situation, that plan, He wasn't trying to ruin your life. He was clearing the weeds so your heart could grow without being strangled. He was removing the shadows so His light could finally reach you. The problem is, when you're standing in the middle of that emptiness, it doesn't look like light. It looks like loss, and your mind tells you, if this was good for me, I wouldn't feel so broken. But healing rarely feels good while it's happening. The medicine doesn't taste sweet. The surgery doesn't feel gentle. The space doesn't feel safe when it's empty. Still, Allah knows something you don't. That one day, you'll step back, look at that same space, and see it filled with the kind of peace, love, and stability you once thought you'd never have. And when that day comes, you'll understand why He had to remove what He did. You'll see that what left was never meant to be part of the final picture. It was just a piece you were trying to force into the wrong place, thinking the puzzle would never be complete without it. But Allah, He's the one who sees the whole design. He knows what belongs where. And He knows when something you love is standing in the way of something greater. So if your life feels emptier right now, don't mistake it for abandonment. Don't mistake it for Allah turning away from you. Emptiness is sometimes the holiest space of all because it means something new, something better, something lighter is on its way. One day, you'll look back and realize the day they left was not the day the light left your life. It was the day the light finally had a way in. 4. Closed doors are proof. Allah is clearing the path. You remember the first time it happened, don't you? You had a plan, a direction, a dream that felt so close you could almost taste it. And then the door slammed, without warning, without explanation. It wasn't just one door, it happened again and again. People you trusted turned away. Opportunities slipped through your fingers. Prayers you thought would be answered with a yes came back in silence. At first, you thought, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. You kept pushing harder, trying to find another way in. But every time you reached for the handle, it wouldn't turn. Every time you tried to push, the door wouldn't move. It felt like rejection. It felt like humiliation. It felt like Allah was holding you back from everything you wanted. But listen, closed doors are not always walls. Sometimes they are shields. You see, you're looking at the door from your side. All you see is what's behind it now. You don't see what's waiting further down the path. But Allah does. He sees the road ahead from beginning to end. And sometimes the thing you want so badly now is sitting in the middle of a road that leads to your destruction. If He left that door open, you wouldn't stop walking. And by the time you realize the danger, it would be too late. That's why some doors don't close gently. They slam, they lock, they push you back so hard you can't even try again. Because if they stayed open, your heart wouldn't let go. Think about it. If you've ever been on a train going in the wrong direction, you know how easy it is to keep going, convincing yourself you'll figure it out later. But every station you pass takes you further from where you're meant to be. The only thing that can save you is getting off the train, and sometimes the only way to make that happen is if someone pulls the emergency brake. That's what Allah is doing with those closed doors. He's pulling the brake before you travel too far into something that would take years to recover from. And I know in the moment, it feels like loss. It feels like being robbed of what you worked for, but you don't know what He just saved you from. Maybe that job you wanted would have crushed your health. Maybe that person you were chasing would have betrayed you. Maybe that opportunity you thought was perfect would have slowly killed your faith. You only see what's been taken. Allah sees what you were about to lose if it stayed. It's like a parent pulling their child away from playing in the street. The child doesn't see the speeding car coming. They only see that they were stopped from having fun. But the parent knows if they hadn't pulled them away, that fun would have turned into tragedy. That's how Allah loves you. He doesn't just give you what you ask for, He gives you what you would ask for if you could see what He sees. And here's something you might not realize. Closed doors don't just protect you from harm, they also clear the path for what's better. If that door stayed open, you'd still be standing there, holding on, waiting for it to become what you hoped it would. But with it closed, you're forced to move. And every step you take now is a step toward what's actually yours. Sometimes, the reason you haven't found your blessing yet is because you're still standing in front of a closed door, knocking on it, begging it to open, when Allah has already unlocked another one behind you. But you won't see it unless you turn around. This is why trust is so important. Not blind trust in yourself, not blind trust in other people, but trust in Allah's vision over yours. Because if you could see what He's building for you, if you could see the view from the top of the hill He's leading you to, you'd thank Him for every single door that slammed in your face. And one day, you will. You'll stand in a place you never planned to be, holding blessings you didn't even know how to ask for, and you'll realize you only got here because those doors closed. Every no you heard was a yes to something greater. Every rejection was a redirection. Every closed door was an invitation to walk toward the one that was written for you before the day you were born. So if you're staring at a closed door right now, don't waste your life trying to break it down. Don't stand there wondering why it's locked. Turn around. Keep walking, because somewhere ahead, there's a door that won't just open, it will welcome you in. And when you step through it, you'll finally understand that the doors that refused you were not your enemies. They were your guardians, and you'll thank Allah for every single one of them. 5. Your conversations with Allah have changed. You didn't notice it at first. The change came quietly, the way night becomes morning without anyone hearing it. You didn't plan it. You didn't even realize it was happening. But the way you speak to Allah now is different. Before, your du'as were short, quick, something you did because you were supposed to. Sometimes they were memorized words, repeated out of habit. Sometimes they were rushed whispers you fit in between other things, almost like ticking a box. But now, it's different. Now you don't just talk to Allah, you pour yourself into Him. You found yourself awake at hours you never planned to be awake. Sitting in the dark, the room quiet, the rest of the world asleep, and it's just you and Him. And in those moments, you don't sound like you're reading a script anymore. You don't sound like you're reciting a list. You sound like a person who has run out of every other place to go. A person who knows there is no one left to turn to, but the one who's been waiting all along. Sometimes you speak slowly, letting every word sit heavy in the air. Sometimes you can't form full sentences, your lips move, but only tears come out. Sometimes you just sit there in silence, not saying a word, but feeling like your entire being is speaking to him without sound. And this is not a sign of weakness. This is a sign of healing, because pain has a strange way of stripping you down to what's real. It removes the small talk, it burns away the empty formalities, and it leaves you with nothing but truth. When you were comfortable, maybe you didn't think you needed him this much. When you thought your plans were working, you might have prayed less, or only prayed when it felt convenient. But heartbreak has a way of making you see that Allah is not just part of your life, He is your life. And here's something you might not realize. Your tears during dua, they are not a sign that you're falling apart. They are a sign that the walls between you and Him are finally breaking. Every tear is a drop of pride leaving your heart. Every sob is a piece of ego being replaced with surrender. Some nights, you found yourself telling Him things you've never told anyone. Not a friend, not a family member, not even yourself out loud. You've confessed secrets, fears, regrets, and somehow, instead of shame, you've felt relief. That's the beauty of speaking to Allah. You can tell Him everything, even the things you can't say to yourself, and He will never throw it back in your face. He will never say, "I told you so." He will never walk away. And the more you talk to Him, the more you notice something else. Your du'as aren't only about asking for things anymore. Yes, you still ask. Yes, you still hope for His help. But now, you also talk to Him just because you want to. You tell Him about your day. You tell Him what scared you, what made you smile, what made you think of Him. You tell Him about the small victories, the quiet heartbreaks, the things no one else would understand. And somewhere along the way, your prayer stopped being an emergency exit and became a home. This is healing. This is what it looks like when Allah uses heartbreak to bring you closer. This is what it looks like when He says, "I want you to speak to me more than you speak to the world." Because the truth is, we all have a choice when we're in pain. We can drown in it, try to numb it, try to distract ourselves with anything and anyone. Or we can let it push us toward the only one who can take it away. And you, maybe without even realizing it, have chosen the second. You've turned to Him in the dark. You've let your pain teach you how to pray like someone who knows there's nowhere else to go. And if you could see yourself from His view, you would understand that these moments are not small. They are mountains in your life. They are points on your timeline that will matter forever. Because the way you speak to Him now is not something you will forget when the pain ends. It's something you will carry with you into your joy. And that joy, when it comes, will be deeper because of these nights you spent with Him. So, when you kneel on the prayer mat and feel like you don't even know where to start anyway. When you can't form the words, let your tears speak. When you're too tired to cry, just sit there. He knows what you mean. Because every time you turn to Him now, you are proving something to your own soul. I am not alone. I have someone who listens, someone who answers, someone who heals. And one day, when your heart is whole again, you'll look back and realize, this was the sweetest change of all. 6. The wound that made you pray is the wound that will heal you. You didn't want this wound. You never asked for it. You never prayed for this kind of pain. If anything, you prayed for the opposite, for peace, for stability, for love that lasts. But instead, you found yourself here, with a heart that feels like it's been torn open, with days that blur together in a haze of heaviness, with nights where sleep refuses to come because your thoughts won't stop. You've tried distracting yourself. You've tried keeping busy. You've tried telling yourself you're fine. But in the quiet, when no one's watching, you feel it. It's there, raw, uncovered, unavoidable. And yet, something else has happened too. Somewhere in the middle of this heartbreak, your prayers changed. They became longer, softer, more real, more desperate. Not desperate in the sense of weakness, but desperate in the sense that you finally know He's the only one who can hold you through this. And here's the part you might not have realized yet. This wound, the very one you wish you could erase, is the reason you've started speaking to Allah in a way you never have before. If it weren't for this wound, maybe your du'as would still be rushed. Maybe your sajda would still be short. Maybe you wouldn't be waking up at night with your face pressed to the prayer mat, whispering His name with tears you can't control. Pain has a way of doing this. It strips you down to what matters. It removes the illusions you've been living with. It forces you to see that everything you've been holding on to, people, plans, control, can disappear in a moment. And when that happens, when everything you thought you could rely on is gone, you're left with only Him. And maybe that's exactly what He wanted for you, not to hurt you, but to bring you back to the place where your first instinct is to call Him. Because here's the truth. Sometimes Allah will use a wound to bring you to the very place your soul has been avoiding. He knows that if it didn't hurt this much, you wouldn't pray this deeply. If it didn't ache this much, you wouldn't cry His name this sincerely. Think about the first time you felt the pain hit so hard, you dropped everything and prayed like your life depended on it. You weren't thinking about fancy words. You weren't worried about who was listening. It was just you, broken, raw, honest, pouring everything into His hands. And in that moment, whether you felt it or not, something shifted inside you. Because when you come to Allah like that without pride, without pretending, your heart starts to heal in ways you can't explain. The wound doesn't close instantly. It still aches. It still bleeds sometimes. But now, every time it hurts, it becomes a reason to talk to Him again. And every time you talk to Him, He pours something unseen into you. Patience, strength, clarity, until one day you realize the wound doesn't own you anymore. This is how Allah works. He can take the very thing that was meant to break you and make it the thing that builds you. He can take the very pain that brought you to your knees and turn it into the reason you never stop bowing to Him. And when that happens, the wound becomes holy. It's no longer just a scar from something that hurt you. It becomes a reminder of the moment Allah became real to you in a way He never was before. Years from now, you might not even remember the details of the heartbreak, the faces, the conversations, the exact words said. They'll fade. But you will remember the nights you spent crying in sujood. You will remember the way you whispered, Ya Allah, with every ounce of your being. You will remember the feeling of talking to Him like He was right there in front of you, because in a way, He was. And that's why this wound that made you pray is the wound that will heal you. Not because the situation will magically fix itself, not because the person will return, not because life will suddenly become easy. It will heal you because it's doing something deeper. It's teaching you where to go with your pain and who to give it to. It's carving into you a habit you'll carry for the rest of your life. The habit of turning to Allah first, not last. And when you've learned that, the wound will have done its job. It will fade, not because time heals all wounds, it doesn't, but because Allah heals all wounds when they are placed in His hands. One day, you'll look back and realize you wouldn't trade this wound for anything, because it was the very thing that brought you home. 7. This heartbreak is the doorway to the life you asked for. You think this heartbreak is the end of the chapter, the end of the dream, the end of the person you thought you were going to be. It feels final, like someone slammed the book shut halfway through the story and left you in the dark, mid-sentence. And maybe you've told yourself that this is how it's going to be now, that nothing will feel whole again, that nothing will feel alive again. But what if I told you this isn't the end at all? What if I told you this is the doorway to the very life you prayed for? I know you can't see it yet. I know all you see is rubble, pieces of plans you built in your head and held in your heart. I know you're walking through rooms that feel empty, places that used to be full of warmth, but now echo with silence. I know you're carrying mornings where you wake up and for a second forget until you remember, and the heaviness comes rushing back. But let me tell you something you've probably never heard before. Allah doesn't always answer du'as by giving you something new. Sometimes He answers them by taking something away. And when He takes something away, it's not always because it was bad in the obvious ways you might think. Sometimes it was simply in the way. See, you had a vision for your life. You thought you knew exactly how Allah should give you the happiness you've been praying for. You had it mapped out, the people who would be there, the place you'd be in, the way your days would look, and you asked Allah to bless it. But Allah, He saw further. He saw what you couldn't see. He saw the cracks in that vision, hairline fractures that would have grown wider with time until they broke you in ways you might never recover from. He saw the nights you would have cried alone, even in the life you were begging Him for. He saw the weight that would have crushed you slowly while you told yourself you were happy. And so, He did something you might not forgive Him for just yet. He took it away. He closed the door. He put an end to the thing you thought you couldn't live without. And now, you're here. In the middle of heartbreak you didn't ask for. In the middle of a silence that feels louder than any noise. In the middle of questions you don't have the answers to. But here's what I need you to understand. This heartbreak is not a wall blocking your future. It's a doorway one you didn't see before because you were facing the wrong direction. It's like standing in a hallway with one locked door in front of you. You keep banging on it, begging for it to open, convinced this is the only way forward. And while you're pounding on it, there's a door behind you wide open leading to something far greater. But you'll never notice it until you stop knocking and turn around. That's what this moment is for you. It's your chance to turn around. Because here's the thing about heartbreak. It strips you. It takes everything away until you're forced to rebuild from the ground up. And when you rebuild, you see differently. You choose differently. You become someone who won't settle for almost, for halfway, for things that look whole but are hollow inside. Maybe you prayed for love that lasts, and you thought Allah would give it to you through the person you just lost. But maybe the love you prayed for is waiting in someone whose name you haven't even heard yet. Maybe they are still in the middle of their own heartbreak, and Allah is using this time to prepare both of you so that when you meet, you'll be ready to hold what you couldn't before. Maybe you prayed for success, and you thought it would come through that one job, that one project, that one plan that now lies in pieces. But maybe the success you prayed for is in a path you never considered because you were too busy chasing the one you thought you had to follow. Maybe you prayed for peace, and you thought peace meant keeping what you had because you were afraid of what life would feel like without it. But maybe the peace you prayed for comes from finally letting go of the thing that's been quietly exhausting you for years. Do you see it now? The heartbreak isn't the enemy, it's the turning point. It's the moment where the story bends toward the ending you've been praying for, not the one you planned, but the one that was written for you before you were even born. Think about Ibrahim alayhi salam when Allah told him to leave his wife and child in the desert. To the human eye, it looked like abandonment. It looked like loss. But that very place, that empty, lifeless desert, became Makkah, became a source of life for millions, became the heart of the Ummah. That's what Allah can do with the places that feel empty right now. He can turn them into the most sacred, life-giving chapters of your story. One day, you will walk through a door and realize, this is it. This is the moment all the pain was leading me to. This is the life I couldn't have built if I hadn't first been broken. And you will thank Allah for every no, every goodbye, every closed door. But until that day, keep walking, keep breathing. Keep trusting that just because you can't see the destination yet doesn't mean you're not already on the road to it, because you are. And the heartbreak that feels like the end right now will be the doorway you look back on and realize it was the beginning. 8. One day you will thank Allah for this exact night. You don't believe this right now, not for a second. If someone told you tonight, one day you'll thank Allah for this exact night, you'd probably shake your head, maybe even laugh bitterly and say, no, not this night, not this pain, because right now it feels impossible. The air feels heavy, the walls feel too close, your chest aches in a way that no medicine can fix. And every thought you try to quiet comes back louder, dragging with it every memory, every regret, every what if you've been trying not to think about. Tonight, you're convinced that this is one of the worst nights of your life. And maybe, in some ways, it is. But I promise you something, there will come a day when you will sit somewhere, years from now, in a place of peace you can't even imagine yet. And this night will come back to you, not to hurt you, not to break you again, but to make you smile with tears in your eyes, because you'll realize this was the night Allah began writing the part of your story you'd been praying for without even knowing it. Right now, you think Allah is silent. You think He's letting you cry into your pillow without caring. You think your du'as are hitting the ceiling and falling back onto you unanswered. But what if I told you, this silence you feel is not abandonment, it's construction. Do you know how a seed grows in the dark before it breaks the soil? It's buried, covered, hidden. To anyone looking from the outside, it seems like nothing is happening. But deep underground, roots are forming, life is pushing through, and the very thing that looks lifeless is preparing to rise. That's what's happening to you tonight. You feel buried, but you're actually being planted. One day, you will look back and see that this was the night your roots started growing deep. This was the night you finally broke away from the things that were holding you back. This was the night Allah began shaping you into someone who could hold the blessings you've been praying for. I know that's hard to accept, because tonight, all you can see is what's missing. All you can feel is the emptiness where something or someone used to be. You think you're weaker now, that you've been reduced to less than you were before. But the truth is, you're being reduced to what's essential. Allah is taking away the noise, the distractions, the attachments that would have made you settle for less than what was written for you. And yes, it feels cruel while it's happening. Just like cleaning a wound feels cruel to the wound. You want Him to heal you without it stinging. You want Him to rebuild without first tearing down. But there's no other way. Sometimes the only way to heal is to strip everything down until all that's left is you and Him. Years from now, when your du'as have been answered in ways that leave you speechless, you'll think of tonight. You'll remember how broken you felt. You'll remember how you begged Him to change your situation. You'll remember how you thought the silence meant nothing was happening, and you will smile. Not because the pain was enjoyable, it wasn't. Not because the tears were easy, they weren't. You'll smile because you'll see that every unanswered prayer from this night was actually being answered in a better way than you could imagine. You'll see that if He had given you what you asked for that night, you would have been settling for a life smaller than the one He had planned for you. Maybe tonight you're praying for someone to come back, and maybe in the future you'll look at the person Allah brings instead, or maybe the peace He gives you in being whole on your own, and you'll whisper, Ya Allah, thank you for not giving me what I wanted back then. Maybe tonight you're praying for a door to open, and maybe in the future you'll be walking through a different door entirely, one you didn't even know existed, and you'll remember tonight and think, Ya Allah, now I see why you closed the other one. Maybe tonight you feel completely unseen, and maybe in the future you'll be surrounded by the kind of love and sincerity you never thought possible, and you'll remember tonight as the night He started clearing the path for it. This night will not last forever. The heaviness will lift, the ache will soften, and what you're feeling right now will one day be a story you tell with a steady voice, not a trembling one. And on that day, you'll finally understand the truth. Allah was never ignoring you. He was building you. He was protecting you. He was shaping you into the version of yourself that could step into the very life you've been praying for. So tonight, even if you can't thank Him yet, trust that one day you will. One day, you'll sit in the middle of a life that feels whole, and you'll look back at this exact night and realize this was the night everything started to change. This was the night Allah began answering you in ways you didn't even have the words to ask for. And on that day, with your heart steady and your eyes full of tears, you will say it softly, over and over. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah for that night. You might not see it yet, but Allah has already started on you. Every tear, every small moment of calm, every loss you didn't understand, it's all been part of the healing. Your heart won't always feel like this. One day, you'll wake up and realize the pain you thought would last forever has turned into a peace you never knew you could hold. And when that day comes, you'll thank Him for not leaving you where He found you. Until then, hold on. Keep talking to Him. Keep letting your wounds lead you back to the one who can close them. Because the same Allah who allowed this heartbreak is the only one who knows exactly how to turn it into the doorway to your best days.